Chapter 3. Theoretical Perspectives on Firearms and Violence. Empirical findings only make sense against a theoretical background. Much of what looks like disagreement about evidence turns out, on inspection, to be disagreement about the underlying model. This chapter surveys the theories that organize firearms research, and the key point is that no single one explains everything. Routine activities theory, developed by Cohen and Felsen in the late 1970s, is a useful starting point. It holds that predatory crime requires three things to converge in time and space: a motivated offender, a suitable target, and the absence of a capable guardian. Crime depends not just on how many motivated offenders exist, but on how often they encounter unguarded targets. Lifestyle exposure theory, a close relative developed by Hindelang and colleagues, explains why some demographic groups face higher victimization risk through the routines their lifestyles produce. Deterrence theory holds that the prospect of sanctions shapes offending. The research finds that certainty of punishment matters more than severity, which is why mandatory minimum sentences, which raise severity, have produced such mixed results. Focused deterrence, pioneered in Boston in the 1990s through Operation Ceasefire, applies the certainty principle directly, communicating consequences to high-risk individuals and following through. The most contested application is the civilian deterrence hypothesis, the idea that armed victims deter offenders. That claim has not survived sustained examination. The weapons effect, first studied by Berkowitz and LePage in 1967, proposes that the mere presence of a weapon can increase aggression. The effect appears most reliable when people are already angered, but its translation from the laboratory to real-world policy remains incomplete and contested. Then come two competing accounts of what weapons actually do. The instrumentality hypothesis, associated with Franklin Zimring, holds that the lethality of the available weapon shapes the lethality of the encounter, independent of intent. Many people are willing to fight. Far fewer intend to kill, and the weapon often determines which outcome occurs. The facilitation hypothesis takes the opposite view, captured by the phrase that guns do not kill people, people kill people. On this view, the disposed will substitute other weapons, so availability changes little. The evidence over several decades favors instrumentality. Case fatality rates for firearm assaults far exceed those for knife assaults, even after adjusting for wound location. Subcultural and strain perspectives address why some populations show higher rates of violent disposition. Wolfgang and Ferracuti's subculture of violence thesis, refined in Anderson's Code of the Street, locates violent orientations in the structural conditions of concentrated disadvantage, where reputation can substitute for legal protection. Strain theory from Merton and later Agnew ties offending to the gap between socially valued goals and the legitimate means available to reach them. Opportunity theory and situational crime prevention, developed by Ronald Clark, translate these ideas into practice. The framework organizes interventions around 5 categories: increasing effort, increasing risk, reducing rewards, reducing provocations, and removing excuses. Means restriction, rooted in public health, occupies an adjacent position, limiting access to lethal means at moments of crisis, and it bridges the criminological and public health traditions. No single theory is sufficient. Routine activities says little about motivation. Deterrence is silent on opportunity. The weapons effect does not explain who carries weapons or why. The most productive recent work has been mid-range, building careful accounts of specific mechanisms, like the firearm supply chain or the dynamics of intimate partner violence, rather than deriving everything from one grand theory. The lesson for you as a reader is to identify the theoretical premises behind any study, because they shape what the study can claim, and to be skeptical of work that presents itself as definitive support for one theory at the expense of all others.